Steady box office
Steady
numbers.
box office numbers.
No! Amazon James Bond
Uh,
news and Dwayne Johnson cast as lead in Scorsese's film? No! All this and more on this episode of Beyond the Screen.
no, all this and more on this episode of Beyond the Screen.
I'm using it. I don't care. Welcome to Beyond the Screen. I'm your host, Ryan, and that's Jake, the guy who tried to hijack my intro that I do every freaking week. I don't even want to know how you're doing. How about that? I don't have to ask you how you're doing.
Dude, I'll tell you how I'm doing. I'm doing great.
Yeah? Tell me about it.
So I just had probably one of the busiest and most tiring days of work, and I'm ready for bed. I threw you a curveball, didn't I?
Yeah, I swung on that one too. Bad miss.
Ugh.
Well, I'm doing good. I'm happy you asked. And I things are busy at work as always. For those who follow, I'm now a month into a new position at another university, a university I'm very familiar with, and those who know me personally know what I mean by that. And I just do everything marketing, promotion, and like part recruitment for a pretty large group of people, an institute, if you will, and it's a lot. And so this last few weeks have been fun. Like, it's all great. I'm getting a lot of experience, but man, are there a lot of things that need not only changed, but there's a lot of things that that people need to have done, which is a good thing, because that means my job security is way up. But also, I understand what you mean by being busy. But yes, we've got a very busy week for film now that you've all got what you're here for, not just us rambling about new positions and how tiring our days were, and some of us who are trying to hijack intros from the other. We're going to move in to Captain America, #1 in the box office numbers. Brave New World leads the box office, for the second straight week with a $28.2 million haul. This, however, is a 68% drop from its first week, which, I mean, that's insane. Yet, this is not the worst drop from week to week for a Marvel film in the last few years, with both The Marvels and Ant-Man Quantumania sitting at 78% and a 70% drop, respectively. The film has earned $289.4 million worldwide. Jake, thoughts on the two-time box office leader's drastic drop?
I think Captain America dropped so drastically because, I mean, what's really special about Captain America? There wasn't much besides, oh, look, a red Hulk. It looks like every other Hulk, and it's just kind of meh. So the people who will go watch Captain America have been and watched, and I think that's where it's left. I could be wrong. It might linger a little bit, but I foresee the monkey taking over within a week or two. If nothing else comes out. I'm not sure what else is coming out.
Yeah, and I can agree with that. I think the biggest thing is that I think it's a two-part thing. Is like, one, I've read in a lot of places that like Marvel didn't expect this to compete with Wolverine or Deadpool and Wolverine or any of their big hitters from last year. I think the biggest thing that hurts this film is they took 5 years to continue a story from a series on Disney Plus. I think that's where you hurt the most, is because I don't remember a lot from Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I remember enjoying it, but the fact that you took 5 years to say, okay, now it's time to continue this. And there was all sorts of, like, I remember there being, and I don't think I'm making this up. I think I remember reading articles like a year ago about how the story was scrapped and it was rewritten. And it was just like, maybe this was even planned to be a series at one point. I don't know. It just seems like, for those who I've talked to who have seen this movie, because I've not seen it personally just yet, they say they like it. The audience score is just kind of like, it's not great, but it's not bad. Like audience members don't seem to hate this film. It's just a matter of, like, exactly what you said. I think the audience that is there for it already went, and they come and gone. And those who usually would be like, ooh, a big Marvel movie, they feel like they're out of touch already. And that's not a good way to kind of bring in a fan base.
I think secondarily, Disney Plus is still it's like really big streaming platform, and people are just like, well, I'll just watch it from home. I'm not going to go theaters. That's unfortunate, but like Disney kind of screwed themselves on box office by making it so accessible, because I mean, they've had controversies with it going straight to streaming, with like Scarlett Johansson and other actors. So
Yeah.
you shoot yourself in the foot. If you're going for box office ratings, you don't release it, you know, super fast or until it's out of the box office like everybody else.
Yeah, and like I think like another thing about streaming is that like it used to be for a long time the narrative was that streaming was going to completely kill cinema, and while that's proven to not be true, what has happened is streaming has made it more challenging for the average movie to succeed. Every film, it's not like back 20 years ago when you like, oh, this rom com is now out, and you know it could be terrible, but the experience. Where else am I going to go see it? I don't want to wait 3 months. This seems interesting. I like insert actor, Matthew McConaughey, Ben Affleck, whoever. So I'm just gonna go watch it. Now it's like it'll be on streaming in 3 weeks.
Yeah, I don't want to wait till it eventually comes to Blu-ray and I pass it in a Walmart
Mm-hmm. That's not a thing
because that
anymore.
well, yeah, I know, but for a while there, you know, when we were coming up, because we're a little old, you'd walk by one of those kiosks right next to the checkout and had a bunch of Blu-ray movies on it, and you're like, oh shit, that came out,
Yeah,
you know. So
yeah, man.
gone are those days.
Which again hurts films like this. I mean, the fact of the matter is, it still has made 289 million worldwide. Like it's fine. Like it's probably made back its production value. It's probably closing in on its promotion and marketing. You know, it's fine. Um, with that note, we're going to go ahead and move on. And Jake, you already spoiled what comes in second, which isn't a bad spoil. There are those, but not this time. Coming in second is Neon and Osgood Perkins' latest horror film, The Monkey. In its opening weekend, the film grossed 14.2 million in theaters. This is Neon's second best release behind another one of Perkins' films, which was last summer's hit Longlegs. So the synopsis of The Monkey, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. My brother was our co-host, and he really liked the idea behind this. The concept is, quote, when twin brothers find a mysterious wind-up monkey, a series of outrageous deaths tear their family apart. 25 years later, the monkey begins a new killing spree, forcing the estranged siblings to confront the cursed toy. Despite the great opening, the film is at a cinema score of C+, which is below the average for horror films, which is about B minus, a B maybe. The tomato meter is a 79%, and the IMDb rating is 6.6 out of 10, which are both decent numbers. So this is not a bad film. It's a little concerning. My issues with Longlegs, and I like Osgood Perkins enough. My issue with Longlegs was that its story had so many holes in it. It sacrificed substance for aesthetic, and I worry that this is going to do the same. But I watched an interview, or I read an article that had an interview with Osgood Perkins, and he had talked about how this film was meant to be fun. Longlegs was meant to kind of like freak you out. It was meant to scare you. The Monkey was meant to be fun. So maybe those same problems with Longlegs won't be a big problem. Jake is highlighting in deep red and now blue 60% on the popcorn meter. That's another thing from Rotten Tomatoes. Jake, what do you think about our second place winner in The Monkey?
I'm surprised it's a low popcorn meter. I thought this was something like the marketing behind it was pretty good, and then we saw this in the trailer in theaters. And I'm not big into horror, but like the deaths and the acting seemed funny. Like it was comedy and you know, that I could get behind. But I'm just not like big into the horror. But it's something that piqued my interest just from enjoying a good laugh from it. And then the lore behind how they had to do a monkey with a drum instead of a monkey with cymbals because of Toy Story. That was kind of funny.
Yeah, Disney
So
tries to ruin everything, man. I'm happy that that is one thing that's kind of funny, is they were able to stick it and show the
yeah,
frugal nature of copyright laws. It could be a monkey toy. It could be an annoying monkey toy, but it just can't use symbols.
cheese,
You're clear.
lucrative.
Yeah. But no, I don't. I think that this is just a fun. I don't know. It just seems like there is one scene in the trailer that gets me every time, because the algorithm, you know, they listen, and so I liked one or two of the posts from the actual account, and their biggest promotion, like their tactic, is to show some of the deaths. And there's one scene where like the mom or the babysitter's hovering over the kid, and she starts like screaming, and blood's pouring from every orifice that like just imaginable, like her eyes, her nose, her mouth, her ears, and that is so gross to me. Like that is disgusting. And so it's like I'm scrolling Instagram, and then all of a sudden, bang! It's just that face, just blood pouring everywhere, and it's like, oh. So it'll still be fun, but I want you to know, Osgood, you got me. I'm a little grossed out, and I've not even seen it yet. The remainder of the top five include Paddington in Peru, excuse me, falling to third in this week's box office, earning $6.5 million, a total gross of $25.2 million domestically and $150.2 million worldwide. It's fine. Paddington's fine. They're not struggling. They're going to do all right. Continuing down the line, DreamWorks Dogman earned another $5.9 million after its first month in its fourth week in theaters, an overall haul of $78.7 million domestically and $104 million worldwide. And rounding out the top five is Moyon Entertainment's Neza 2. The film has earned a grand total of $14.8 million in the States and has passed the $1.7 billion in the highest to become the highest grossing animated film of all time. With the film looking to surpass the $2 billion mark in the near future. What is interesting about this film is that Box Office Mojo does not seem to recognize the Chinese media numbers about the film's earnings. These numbers have come strictly from Moyon and strictly from media outlets in its native country. It's interesting to see that places like Box Office Mojo, which we use week to week, it's a very reliable source. They don't seem to, I don't know if that's, like, we might be reading too much into this, or we as an I. I wonder what's up with that.
I don't know. Is it confirming numbers that they have a problem with? So maybe there's not a conversation there, and it just boils down to, well, if there's no confirmation of money here, then we're not going to publicize it. You know, there's a level of, if we can't tell the truth, then we're not going to speak on it at all.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense
So,
if it's like, we can't confirm this, so we just won't include it. Not necessarily
yeah.
saying it's not true, but this is just like the meteoric rise. I mean, you just heard the stat. This is the highest grossing animated film of all time, and it's been in theaters 2 weeks, maybe 3. Maybe this is week 3. And the thing is, that $1.7 billion was on Friday. So it had the entirety of the weekend to get to $2 billion. It might be at $2 billion. Thing is,
It as of yesterday, if you trust r/box office, as of Sunday, it's grossed 1.894. So it's like creeping up. It's got another what is that, 100
yeah.
million? Which, I mean, one day, the rest of Sunday, right?
Oh, yeah, before this weekend, it will be at $2 billion if things hold up to standard.
Oh, yeah.
Which is interesting. Again, so, and Jake, you actually included this stat or this fact, which is, I think, really interesting. Outside of America, again, the film has earned $14.8 million here. The only other markets that are included in the Box Office Mojo listings are Australia and New Zealand. Where's it in the rest of the world? If this is just in China, America, and the lands down under, that is a little far fetched when you think about it. Not that I doubt the Chinese market, because I mean, I'm sure if this was a big enough fad, that this could happen, but it's just crazy.
So we've got China, Australia, Fiji, New Zealand, Papua New Guinea, Canada, United States, and then Hong Kong released 2 days ago, Macau released 2 days ago, and then Singapore, Malaysia, Vietnam, Indonesia will all release in March. And those are the countries that are showing it. So I didn't see Britain in there. I saw Canada, Great Britain, or the UK. So I don't know. Maybe
not
it's,
even released to the greater part of Asia yet.
apparently not, or the Philippine and the islands. And then it's not even in Europe, really. So
Weird.
like there's no German, like there's no Germany, there's no, the other European nations, so no France, anywhere like that. So it is, if this is right, this is IMDb giving me release date info for all these countries. It's making 1.9 off a few countries, majority
Yeah,
being China.
that is. Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. Again, I don't doubt, because the Chinese market is giant. It is massive. So to say that it can't earn $1 billion or even $2 billion in its own domestic box office is kind of ignorant. I mean, domestically, there's a lot of films in the last 25 years that have made $1 billion in the States alone. But man, that's just to do it in that quick of a time is I think where outlets like Box Office Mojo might get like have some pause, which I find that
Right.
very interesting.
Well, Box Office Mojo they're saying it was 2 weeks ago, which that's also what IMDb saying for the release in United States was on Valentine's Day.
Hmm.
China released it January 29th. So we're coming up on a month of release in China. So I don't know. It's yes, almost 2 billion, but it has been 1 month in terms of China.
Yeah. I guess just 2 weeks
So
in. Let's see, where is it? It would be 2 weeks in American theaters then.
actually, it's been 2 weeks. So Australia, Fiji, New Zealand, Papua New Guinea, Canada, um, February 13th. Actually, Canada was Valentine's Day as well. So
Wait,
Australia and all
hold
those
on.
countries I listed was February
So
13th.
I refreshed the Box Office Mojo page, and we have an interesting development. And I don't know, am I looking at this crazy? Hard Eyes
What's
is
that?
now 5. Look at the Box Office
I
Mojo.
see that. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so when I looked at this earlier today, Nizar 2 was 5. Now it's 9
Yeah. I see
with
that.
an earning of 2 million in the box office and a 13.8. This is a live, like as of recording, a live update that I just now noticed. That is strange. So, a correction here. Paramount Pictures, they're I don't even know their Valentine's Day slasher. I guess what would you call that? I've coined a term for it. It's a comedy / horror. Hard Eyes with 2.7 million, actually taking fifth, 26.6 million. Wow. Okay, that's strange. So I guess disregard some of the facts. Like it still earned 1.7 billion, or I guess as Jake, if you can trust Reddit, almost 1.9 billion in its domestic box office, but completely shifting from earlier today, what I read, to now with the box office week 8 domestic totals here on Box Office Mojo. So with that, I think that that's a good point. What do you think of the rest of these now that I guess we've got an updated list here?
Uh, Nothing really else has changed, right?
Yeah,
Just
everything
that
else is the
Hard
same.
Eyes shot up for
Yeah.
some reason.
Yeah. The rest of the top 5 still goes as follows: Brave New World, The Monkey, Paddington in Peru, and Dogman, which is what we
Well,
reported.
to be fair, it's still undecided for what is this? A Yash Raj Films distributor, the Chava.
6. Mm-hmm.
Is that number 6 here?
Yeah.
It's within $20,000 of Hard Eyes, so we could see. I'm gonna do the research here before I claim, but this is a Indian film company, I believe.
You know, we've done this
Um,
podcast. This is our going into our 4th month. We've done how many episodes a week, or at least how many weeks in a row? 15? Is this 14 or 15? Something like that.
mhm.
We have never had that happen. That's a first. That's a beyond the screen first.
I mean, it's oftentimes the Box Office Mojo. They're not as consistent with their timing. Oftentimes, we'll show up and it's estimated, and then I'll refresh it at about 10 o'clock, and it's finalized. And so they're still counting well into Monday.
Mm.
Um, so that's why Chava here might actually be top 5 once we post the updated um, when we do our box office numbers on social media. You might see Chava be number 5 and beat out Hard Eyes.
Yeah.
Who's to say? Because it is still estimated. It is not over yet, and it's got plus 50% win over loss from its debut week. So it's somehow gotten another million and a quarter under its belt since its debut. It's crazy.
I would read the synopsis on Box Office Mojo, but I can't pronounce any of these names, and we know I'm bad at it, so I'm not even going to
Oh
try.
man,
Yeah, it's a historical drama based on the life of this
some
dude.
people
This
and the
dude.
son of some people.
Yeah. So
That dude. Yeah.
we're just gonna. It's a historical drama based on these two people. And so if that is an interest in like to you, go watch this film. It's maybe going to be top 5. It very well might be top 5. We don't know. But right now, as of refreshing, Hard Eyes is 5th, and Nezah drops to 9, which is shocking. But okay. All right. And with that shocker of a twist here is the end of your first segment, the box office numbers. Coming up next after the break, we finally got some progress on the next James Bond installment, but it might not be what you have wanted to hear. And big news on Martin Scorsese's next film. Up next. Welcome back to Beyond the Screen. You made it to segment 2. We had a rather long break. For you, it was normal, about five seconds. But for us, we sat here and babbled about nonsense for a good while. So we're back at Beyond the Screen too. So we all took a break. Welcome back, segment 2, everybody. After striking a deal with longtime 007 producers Michael G. Wilson and Barbara Broccoli, Amazon has taken full creative control of the James Bond franchise months after it was reported that Broccoli, in particular, was in a stalemate with the Bezos-led tech company over the future of the franchise. When the current deal in place finally closes, Amazon will officially again have full creative control of 007. I don't know if that's crazy enough to you. Just a few months ago, there was Barbara Broccoli blocking a money penny. That was the term I couldn't think of a few weeks ago. I don't know if that was on the show or not. But a money penny, which is a female James Bond. Broccoli was blocking an MCU like type of event or like expansion of the James Bond universe. Now that's gone. That roadblock in keeping Bond what it's been for so long is gone. And if you remember from our original episode talking about this months ago, it was about, is it time to move on? And I hate to say it from Broccoli, but if you can't find something new, if you can't move the franchise forward, is it time for a new creative focus? Because Broccoli's been a part of this franchise almost since the beginning. I'm pretty sure her dad, Alfred Broccoli, was part of the team that started James Bond, at least on screen. And so like she's a legacy character in this franchise, and it's sad to see this go on. But anyway, the point is Amazon has control of James Bond. They have thanked Broccoli and Wilson for their service and thanked those who came before them to make Bond what it is today, before finishing with a statement of, quote, "We are honored to continue this treasured heritage and look forward to ushering in the next phase of the legendary 007 for audiences around the world." Both Wilson and Broccoli have described how they needed to step back from James Bond in the 007 franchise, with Broccoli emphasizing, quote, "the need to focus on my other projects." With all that in mind, what do we think the truth behind this deal actually is?
How much money does it take?
Yeah.
Name a number, Broccoli. Name a number. I think that's what it boiled down to.
One,
And Broccoli didn't shoot high enough.
I think having the last name Broccoli immediately makes you a James Bond type of villain. I feel like that's the name of like some scientist, Dr. Broccoli. Like, and I don't mean to make fun of her, but it is a funny name.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna go there, but
I went there.
we were all thinking.
We were. But the thing about this is, and it's what I emphasized in kind of my monologue, I think the truth behind it is Jeff Bezos got tired of his cash cow sitting in its stall. You know, like that's the beginning, and the end of it is this person was a threat and was in the way, and one of the richest individuals in the entire world said, I'm done. And he did whatever it could to get them out. And now he can do whatever he wants with it, which I think it's a positive that there's movement. I think this was inevitable. I don't know if it's a positive for what is a good term for this? The authenticity of James Bond. Following his acquisition and this massive victory in gaining control over the world's most recognizable cinematic figure, Bezos took to Twitter to ask his millions of followers who they thought should be the next James Bond. In the overwhelming favorite, if you can believe it, it's kind of a shocking win, actually. If you could, it's not shocking. The people said they wanted Henry Cavill. What else do you think about just all this, Jake?
So I'm looking at IGN's article on this, and they have a little, a poll. And so 54% want Henry Cavill. And that is out of 76,000 voters. So that's about, 35,000 people on this poll alone want Henry Cavill. Then we got Tom Hardy, James McAvoy, Michael Fassbender, Aaron Taylor Johnson, Idris Elba, and then someone else tell us in the comments. So, and then Idris Elba is actually second at 17.5%.
Hmm.
which I'm not sure exactly how many people that is. Um, so I'm for Idris. I think he would do awesome.
Yeah.
But that's about it. I don't think we're gonna get Henry Cavill. What did I listen to? I'd watched something. I think it was on an article you sent me about this. Was they are probably going to be looking for a 30 to 40-year-old who's fit, because this is a demanding role, to be jumping around and doing John Wick esque stunts, and it's going to have to be someone who's already not got a pretty hefty price tag on them. At least this is what this person's opinion is. Whoever was on the video at the top of the article, I'm not even sure what it was on. Some news station, I think, interviewed somebody, but it was yeah, that was their take on it. It's like 30 to 40, fit, and um, doesn't have like an insane price tag. Just needs that platform to become, you know, that next face, was what their opinion was, and I pretty much agree with that. I think you can. Somebody had actually thrown out there in the same video the Gladiator 2 star. They thought he would be a great
Paul
Bond.
Mescal.
Yeah, so it's like, it's not bad. I mean, that's one of the first ones I've seen with him in it, I think. Maybe one other, but yeah. So it really is anybody's game at this point, besides, I guess, Henry Cavill. I don't think he'll get it.
Well, and Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson no longer their game.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think that they retain ownership in this deal. Like they're still owners of the franchise, or part ownership. I guess minority owners at this point, but they have no creative control. So they still get to rake in some money at the end of the day from whatever comes out, but they just can't say anything about it or do anything about it. I think in that list you gave, Paul Mescal's a great addition to that list, by the way. I think Idris Elba is a great choice. I love me some Idris Elba, and I think he'd do the role very well. But I think he's a little too old. I think Henry Cavill. That argument, when people realize that he was someone who had almost gotten the role when Craig was cast, when they saw him in Mission Impossible, it ruined everything, because everyone was like, "Oh my God, that's James Bond," and he looks like the part. Like really, like he would be a fantastic Bond. He's one that if you can do it, because he's had the desire before, and I've not heard him say he doesn't want it. Throw whatever price tag he wants, because give the audience what they want, because he will perform. Like that he will give it his all, and it will be fantastic. I don't know if I like McAvoy or Fassbender. I think Fassbender more than McAvoy, because he's just got that. The thing about James Bond is he's got to be slick. Right, like Craig brought some edge, and I think that did to the benefit of the franchise, as we've talked about before. But the thing is that Craig is still he's got that James Bond. Like there's something about it, when you look at Pierce Brosnan, when you look back at all of the other Bonds, they have that about them. That Sean Connery's, there's something about him. Cavill has it, Fassbender has it, Mescal has it, Idris Elba has it. I don't think Tom Hardy has it. I think he can perform any role. I just think he's almost too goofy. He's almost too edgy. Like I just don't think he just doesn't. I just don't envision him as a Bond. I just don't. So I don't know if I would go. There's very few I would actually say would fit the role. Again, Paul Mescal. He's the looker. He's kind of got that Bond about him. I think he would be fine in the role. He and Fassbender are about the same for me. But I just think you go with the people's choice, and you just, hey, Henry, to be honest, a Henry Cavill James Bond film, especially if it's done well, will make $1 billion. It will make $1 billion. You just got to perform. So in my mind, Amazon MGM, you got to splash. You put all of your chips in the middle. All of your eggs are in the basket. You have to succeed. You cannot fail. Bring in the surefire winner. Because the thing is, if you have Henry Cavill and his Bond performs well, it doesn't even matter if the story is atrocious. When people watch it, if they look at Henry Cavill and they say, "Oh yeah, that's James Bond," even if the story is awful, you will still make hundreds of millions of dollars. So just do the easy thing. Give us Cavill. I guess that's my takeaway from this.
He's a big Cavill fan, guys, so he's a little skewed.
No,
We're
yeah,
biased.
big Cavill. When have I
He's
ever
got a
been?
poster of him.
Oh yeah. Oh, I've got that life-size Superman cut out in the back corner. Wait till I get my face cam, guys, so you'll see him
He sleeps
leaning.
with it.
We weren't supposed to talk about that.
All
Anyway,
right, moving on.
moving on. Martin Scorsese's next film, we have some details. If you remember last year, there were a couple of projects that he had in the works. Both got canceled, didn't really come to fruition. Now we are learning, as is reported in recent days, Dwayne Johnson will reportedly lead the next Scorsese film, also starring alongside of Leo DiCaprio and Emily Blunt. The film follows, again, to reports. This isn't really anything super confirmed, but this is what people are kind of putting out. The film follows a mob boss fighting for the Hawaiian Islands underworld and has been described as The Departed meets Goodfellas, which that's a couple of great films to combine. I never would have thought about that, but that fits very well. The script is currently in development with no further plot details or production details. Everything's kind of under the rug. What are your thoughts on Dwayne Johnson's casting? That's the biggest point of contention. Everyone's talking about The Rock.
I just fell to my knees in the Walmart parking lot.
Oh, not a fan.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's got to be. Dude, I don't know. It's not even like the Rock is gonna ruin it. I don't know. It's just he plays himself, and I don't see Goodfellas working with a character like The Rock. And I haven't seen Departed, but I'm gonna assume that The Departed would not fare too well with a Rock kind of character either. So I look forward to figuring out who he's gonna be. So he's gonna be a lead.
Yeah.
Secondary, so starring Leo DiCaprio, he's also going to be a lead, and then Emily Blunt. So this is going to be what's that movie with the spies? Red Notice.
Oh no.
Yeah, we're gonna get
No.
one of those.
Thing
Yep.
is, I think Scorsese has a way to bring out the best out of everybody. I just really, for some reason, I just can't imagine The Rock in anything other than a Maui from Moana outfit. And anytime anyone says anything, because he's a mob boss, I think he's going to be the mob boss. Anytime anyone does anything, he's just going to turn and give one of them eyebrow things that he does. And it's just going to be that the whole movie. You know, I say that half sarcastically. I don't know what to think about this. I feel like Scorsese, knowing how good he is, because he's Martin Scorsese, he wanted to capitalize on the most popular actor in the world. I think that's just cut and dry. He wanted to capitalize on good casting. He knew Emily Blunt and DiCaprio, they're going to bring people in. But what's really going to get the hype train moving? What's going to get the media frenzy? Dwayne Johnson, that's going to do it. And even if he said, you know what, people will trash on this, I don't care. I really want to say that Scorsese sees something, like maybe there was like, the Rock's not a guy I would imagine that you would say, yeah, audition for this. I feel like every role he does now, it's like, hey, we want you and we'll pay you a bunch of money. And he just gets it. So maybe this happened. But I like to imagine that The Rock was like, he submitted a tape and Scorsese was like, oh my God, The Rock can act. And, and then this is going to be like the thing that completely alters the course of history, and The Rock just becomes even bigger than he already is. And he proves that he is a fantastic actor. Not that he's not in the past. He's got good movies, but he's all the same character every movie. So we'll see.
So I'm going to say that it's not going to be that. I'm not going to say it's going to flop, because I do trust
flop. I didn't say flop.
No, you say it's going to do really well and bring people in and whatnot. And I'm more like, it'll do well box office. I don't think it's going to be a good movie. I don't think it's going to be one for the books like Goodfellas or The Departed,
Yeah.
Because you also have to remember, like, Dwayne The Rock Johnson can't lose a fight. Like, it's that's the saying anyway. Is in his contracts, he always says if he gets punched, he has to punch back, and he can't lose a fight. So how are you going to be a mob boss? Dwayne's going to win.
Yeah, and the thing is, and again, this is another thing too. It's an interesting kind of meeting of the two worlds, because like you've got Dwayne, who plays the same character every movie, and you've got Scorsese, who could not be farther down the spectrum of not a typecasting of what The Rock plays in, who has essentially the same type of movie every time. So like the Scorsese classic mafia film. The Irishman was like that, you know, all the way. Every film that you look at, Scorsese just does that. And this is just the Samoan version of that. But you cast a guy who does not portray that. And I'm hoping it's just typecasting. I don't know. This is a really interesting meeting of two worlds that I never would have imagined should have been put together. And I just want to say, because Scorsese's a genius, let's not get it wrong. I want to say that his genius will show through even more. You know what? I now that I'm sitting here thinking about it too, while we have a moment, I think a lot of why this movie might not fail in the box office, but why people might not take it seriously. Can audiences look at The Rock and take him seriously?
I cannot.
Like,
I think he's tossed himself so down, you know, far that into that well that like Red One and you know, I'm not saying Moana, but like we'll see how this live action Moana turns out. But I think he's too far gone. He is The Rock.
like what was the last serious movie this guy did? Hobbs and Shaw.
Which honestly, if that is his serious, this movie won't work. I don't think it will. Hobbs, if is he Hobbs or is he Shaw? I don't even remember. But he's not. He's still like himself, but just more gruff, more mean about it. More, you know, he's just making fun of Jason Statham the whole time.
Yeah.
And then before that, it was Dom Toretto, and you could tell he didn't like Dom in the movie because he didn't like him in real life.
Yeah.
so that wasn't necessarily acting. He just really didn't like Vin Diesel. And even then, it was still The Rock beefing with Vin Diesel. I mean, we're not going to act like Vin Diesel isn't also Dominic Toretto. Dominic Toretto just is Vin Diesel. So they kind of just act about the same. I don't know. I don't foresee Dwayne doing anything crazy because it's a Scorsese movie. I don't think it's going to translate over. It's going to be a decent movie. I just don't think Dwayne's going to be able to do the numbers that I think Leo has proven that he can do. And then I don't know enough about Emily Blunt, but I don't want to discredit her at all.
Oh, she's a world-class talent, and that's why you place those pillars around him, though, is because at least if you're Scorsese and you're watching the shot play out, you're looking at the monitor and you see The Rock just being The Rock, and you're like, ooh, all right, cut to Leo, and then it's saved. It's saved. It's fine. That's
no, because with Red One and Red Notice, dude, like you're putting J.K. Simmons and Chris Evans.
Okay, but compare
Ryan
those
Reynolds
two. Hold on.
And Gal Gadot, and like it's pillars that don't help.
Ryan Reynolds he's a very similar typecast. Gal Gadot is the same character every film. I don't know if she can act very well either. I say that as a non-actor and a filmmaker wannabe, but Gal Gadot gets a reputation for not being able to act. Chris Evans, one of the Chris's, he's hilarious, but he's not Leo. And who was the other one? J.K. Simmons. Okay, J.K. Simmons is a legend. You got me there.
So Jumanji, Jack Black, Kevin Hart, Black Adam. I'm not sure. That one had Pierce Brosnan. I mean, it's just not like I don't see it, dude. I'm looking at the I'm going to call it the discography. I'm looking at the filmography here, and it's just not there. Even if he has pillars.
I can't disagree with you. I just don't think I would argue he's not had pillars like this. I would say this is the first time he's had this star power. Not that the people he's been with before aren't stars in their own right, but every name you listed, they don't stack to the two of DiCaprio and Blunt. They don't. In my
maybe back
opinion.
when he was the Mummy.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know. I'm willing to leave it there. Actually, Race to Witch Mountain, he was a little bit more serious and not like The Rock. He was more father figure to these aliens.
That was a pretty good movie.
So where'd it go wrong? 2009 to now, he was the Tooth Fairy. After that's
what I was
it
saying.
Has to be that
he started a Tooth Fairy in 2010. That's what happened. It changed his entire career.
Yep. and then he was doing GI Joe, and then he got into the Fast and Furiouses, and it was just, to me, it was downhill from there. So the Tooth Fairy ruined it. Good job. All right.
Childhood favorite in my household growing up was the Tooth Fairy. Anyway, it's not as good as the sequel to the Tooth Fairy 2, starring Larry the Cable Guy. And if you've not seen that, it is terrible, but it is so funny. Anyway, coming up next, as always, your quick news hits. You've made it to segment 3, your quick hits. Thank you so much for sticking around with us this long. You've made it about 40 minutes, which is, again, thank you. Every week, I know I go on a sob story every week, or I get sappy. I get all in my feels thanking you guys for being here, but it's true. The thought of anyone taking 40 minutes out of their daily life to hear me and a dear friend of mine babble and just kind of, oh, yeah, this is cool. Like, it's film, but we love it, and we just appreciate you guys for being here. So thanks again. Hit that like, hit that whatever button, thumbs up, share, tell your mom about us, tell whoever, please share, comment, do the full 9. And with that, we'll go ahead and hop into your quick hits. Despite consistent scheduling conflicts making it nearly impossible throughout the years, there has always been a desire to make a sequel to the Will Smith starring cult classic Hancock. Hancock, which was a 2008 release, is about an alcohol-ridden PR nightmare of a superhero by the same name who works to change his soured public perception. Now, if you could imagine where news would break, I don't know if you'd imagine an XQC live stream, but that is where it happened. Will Smith was on a live stream with the famed streamer in which he was taking in audience questions. One of those questions pertained to the idea of a Hancock 2, where he stated, quote, "There's a really cool Hancock 2 idea. We haven't even talked about it, so I'm going to give you one little piece. Zendaya will be approached for Hancock 2 for a role in Hancock 2. Director Peter Burge has long expressed interest in a return to the franchise, with conversations starting all the way back in 2012. So, Jake, what do you think about a potential sequel to Hancock?
I feel like Zendaya is going to be the daughter, who's also going to have powers, and I think that's the story.
Yeah. What's up with Zendaya and being the daughter? I read something the other day. It's not in here, but it will be in here now because of an impromptu, that there was a rumor that Zendaya was going to be approached for Shrek 5 as Shrek's daughter.
Awesome. Just what we needed.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's age level. I don't know. She just doesn't look like could be the potential lover for Hancock in Hancock 2.
Oh,
Which I don't think so. I don't think that's the right move either.
Please
That's
don't do
why
that.
I've put her in the daughter role.
Yeah.
Unless she's another superhero, but I think the route they're going to take, the easiest route, foreseeable route, is put her as the daughter of Hancock through whomever, however he acquired the daughter. Not sure how that works. Ryan, would you happen to know how that works?
Acquisition. No. Anyway, yeah, I think you make a great point about, I don't know. I don't know, to be honest, I'm not sure there needs to be a Hancock 2. I won't even lie. I think this is one of those that it's a good film. I think it's hilarious. Will Smith does amazing. Leave it alone. Just don't. Don't be dropping. First of all, why is Will Smith on an XQC live stream? Why are you there?
So a lot of people seem to think that streamers, particularly XQC or Kai Cenat or whomever, is kind of like another ticket to, I guess, the publicity getting in. So it's not going to be his first time that he's, tried to get back out there into the public eye since the slapping of of Marty from Madagascar. So it's just one of those, another step to get in front of an audience. XQC is a little bit of a weird one to shoot for.
That's what I thought.
But like streamers in general, not so weird. XQC choosing him to be on a live stream, that's a little odd. Maybe Will Smith watches XQC. I don't know, but this guy I don't even watch him. He babbles, and I can't understand him half the time, which is kind of the whole facade. Like XQC, that's the reason people watch him because he's so funny. You can't understand him. It's like his own language. Um, and then, but I see like Kevin Hart and Snoop Dogg on Kai Cenat, and it's just kind of like these people are just bandwagon. You know, they're trying to hold on to whatever limelight they can to stay relevant. And Kai Cenat and XQC and these other big Twitch streamers are an avenue that they can take. But there was somebody who, oh man, I was reading the comments about Will Smith, and there was he's not even the main character of his own household or something was
Yeah,
was a comment,
no.
and I was like, dang man, that's top comment got pinned under the under the meme. I was like, gosh, bro can't even escape that, man. So
Poor
I
dude.
don't know, was it needed? Um, no, but as always, we will get it because money.
I mean, it's Will Smith, so I feel like he doesn't necessarily need it. But a part of me is like, man, is he stooping this low? XQC, not that XQC is not like a big time streamer, right? But is he stooping this low because he has to drum up his own publicity because his name no longer gets that anymore because of like the fallout years after that's the slap?
So yeah, so that's the Will Smith side. XQC could not care less. If you know anything about XQC, and if you're listening out there and you know anything about this guy, he's got so much money in crypto. He doesn't have to stream for the rest of his life, and he'd have enough to hand down 3 generations. This guy is loaded. It does not matter to him who's on his stream or if he ever streams again. It's actually insane the amount of money this guy just throws around. So and I don't he doesn't throw it around, but like if somebody pisses him off and says he's broke, you find out really quick he's not. So I don't know why XQC decided to, other than, oh my gosh, Will Smith wants to be on my podcast or on my live stream. Sorry, I got podcast on the brain. Can you believe it? I don't know why. So
I wonder if it's like a
yeah,
flex thing.
I had Will Smith on my
Yeah.
stream.
Yeah.
Maybe, but it's not the same as like I had Snoop Dogg on my stream. You know, I had Kevin Hart, I had John Cena, and I honestly, and I'll sidetrack here a little bit. I think it's so funny when like Kevin Hart and John Cena try to do the Twitch lingo where it's like chat and then the donos and or whatever, and it's like Kevin Hart was going off on a guy who like donated, I don't know, 50 bits or something, and he's like, Kai's like, no, that's a good thing, it's good. Oh, all right, thank you. You know, it's, I don't know, I find that so funny. Just I don't know, making fun of old people is hilarious, I guess.
No.
But I don't know, that interaction was fun. So I don't, honestly, talking about this makes me kind of wonder what Will Smith was doing on there, and it might be worth a quick peek into that past stream. Just see like what the heck could these guys possibly be doing?
Yeah, what could they have in common? Like, let's be real. What
I don't know.
What
Like,
do they have in common?
well, now I'm curious, and now I was harping on it, but I was like, now I kind of want to just like click it, fast forward a little bit through, see what they're talking about at all points, because there's no way they just talked about Hancock 2 the whole time. Like XQC streams generally last a while, but this is a quick hit that turned into not so quick hit.
No, it's okay. And now Jake has his rabbit hole, and we have dissected every angle you can dissect a Will Smith on an XQC. You about had me saying podcast, an XQC live stream. There we go, Twitch stream. Moving on. A sequel series to Avatar: The Last Airbender and The Legend of Korra has been ordered by Nickelodeon, titled Seven Havens. The third series in the Avatar series, the new rendition will feature 26 episodes of 30 minutes each over 2 seasons, with a logline of, quote, a world shattered by a devastating cataclysm. A young earthbender discovers she's the new Avatar after Korra, but in this dangerous era, the title marks her as humanity's destroyer, not its savior. Hunted by both human and the spirit enemies, she and her long-lost twin must uncover their mysterious origins and save the Seven Havens before civilization's last strongholds collapse. I mean, the creators of Avatar, they know how to tell a story. I mean, that is just, it makes me feel like that this place, the whole point of Avatar: The Last Airbender was the war between the different nations, Fire Nation and all that. You know, Fire Nation attacked, it's the meme. This makes me feel like the entire world is at war. And the last hope for humanity is the very thing they've grown to hate in what Korra did. And that's like a big thing online right now with this is that, and this leads into my question is the idea that these, even the creators are leaning into this idea that Korra was a terrible avatar, which if you've watched Korra, I've not seen the whole thing, but I did keep up with it. She did a lot of questionable things. And now that is the whole point of this story. And the entire internet is blowing up with the idea that they are acknowledging that she was so bad. Thoughts about the new series? And again, this idea that the showrunners are leading into this idea that Korra was a terrible avatar.
So I have not kept up with The Last Airbender other than like I've seen the live action movie, but
No.
you do go down those you go down those TikTok rabbit holes. And so I do know that at one time I think that Korra made one of those, terrible decisions. And I had thought that it was her. She was the last airbender. She had made a decision that meant that there would not be any more avatars after her. I was under that impression, but I could be wrong. Because I'm not a true fan. I just had read, heard, watched something along the lines that it was unlikely there would be another Avatar, and apparently there is another one anyway. So
Yeah.
is this going to be is this animated?
Yeah.
We know
2D
it's a
animation.
okay.
Yep.
Okay.
What makes me really intrigued by this is, one, she's an earthbender, which is the first time we've seen that. I think Korra was a waterbender, like
Yeah.
the whole point of being the Avatar is you master all of them, right? So Aang was an air, Korra water, and now I don't know if they've said this character's name. Yeah, not in this. This log line does not have the name of the new Avatar, but she's an earthbender, which is very unique to me. And I just, this is where it kind of got me, was because, like, again, I was not super, like, I know what happened in Korra, but I didn't really keep up with it because at that point by the time Korra came out, I had traded cartoons for basketball, and so I really kind of tuned it out during the show's run. However, this idea that I keep seeing floating around is that, like, okay, Korra put this new avatar in the position she's in. The avatars are being hunted. They're seen as destroyers. A lot that is all due to Korra's like her behavior and her decision making in the second series. The only person this new avatar has to turn to is Korra. The only way she can learn and get advice about what to do being the avatar is the person that made the environment that they're now like traversing. That's interesting. That's where I will be tuned in, because I'm going to watch Korra. In fact, I might even rewatch Avatar and just watch the whole the three trilogy. I guess what will now be the trilogy series, just to see how this plays out. Because I'm very intrigued by this. This is how you continue a franchise. This is all new. If you want to know anything about how to continue a franchise, we talked about this a lot. The idea of sequels need to stop, sequels can keep going. This is how you do it with unique, original ideas time after time. With that, we'll go ahead and move on. George R.R. Martin says that there are talks, maybe whispers, about making an Elden Ring film. In an interview with IGN, famed Game of Thrones author George R.R. Martin admitted that there were some rumblings, stating, I should just go into his quote, well, I can't say much about it, but there is some talk about making a movie out of Elden Ring. Which that quote, which is an interesting concept, follows with the developers of Elden Ring. Their name is From Software. They also say something similar. They're like, look, the chief of this company, which I can't remember his name, I forgot to write it down. He said, look, is there a possibility an Elden Ring film can be made? Yes. Do we have the capability to jump mediums? He did not think so. So with that in mind, there seems to be like an opening. These creators want to do this, but it's almost like, how? It's like they know that there's going to have to be some third party that jumps in, which there's going to be so many buyers for that. But as of this moment, as Martin will say, he continues, quote, we'll see if that comes to pass and what the extent of my involvement was. I don't know. I'm a few years behind on my latest book, so that also limits the amount of things I can do, which it's hilarious for him to say I'm a few years behind on the last Game of Thrones, which people say he might not finish before he dies. Jake, what do you think about a potential Elden Ring adaptation to screen?
It's another one of those Magic the Gathering, World of Warcraft type movies that there's an audience. It is not, a very big one. And and there is the audience has its own, opinions, very opinionated opinions. So you're never going to be able to get it right unless you, I mean, truly lean on the Elden Ring. And George R. R. Martin has, we've talked about it before, how he does try to stay true to source. Um, and so I don't doubt him there, but there's always going to be liberties taken when making a film. Um, that bridges between mediums. There's always going to have to be liberties that are taken that change story. So I think their best bet is to tell a story within the same world, but that's not been told by the games. Um, and that is the best course of action. If they want to make it within the world of Elden Ring, you're gonna have to tell something new, or else people are gonna be like, "Hey, that's wrong. You're wrong. He was actually orange, and he rode a unicorn, not a Pegasus." The bronies are like, "Actually, and I can go deeper. I can go deeper, but
Yeah, it's almost like, do you involve George because you know he's going to keep you close to source material, and you know that there's going to be this level of like he's going to hold you to that accountability that you want? Or do you exclude him because you're not able to take the liberties you need to take to adapt the film to a different medium? You know, like that's where, because we've talked about this before on this show about how George R. R. Martin has a lot of problems with adaptations, how he hates how they change things. And exactly the point you made was what we took away last time was sometimes that's just going to have to happen because what you can do in a video game or an animation or a book will not be the same as what you can do on TV. There's only, or on film, I should say. There's only so much you can do. That would be an interesting dilemma for any, and that might be why it's tough for a buyer. It's because it's like, okay, do we hold back because George is going to be a part of this, or do you jump into that and say we want to make this as close to source as possible, and George will make sure that happens? It depends on how you want to attack it, but it'll be interesting to see who buys, if anyone. Moving on. During a Q&A at the Film at Lincoln Center event, Robert Eggers was asked about his next film, which is called Werewolf. The director confirmed that the time period that it would be set in, some aspects of the story, and most notably, how dark the story is. Remember, he just came out with Nosferatu, which me and Jake reviewed. Go back and listen to it. It's like 6-7 episodes ago now, something to that effect. Go back and listen to it. Great review, great film. We loved it. But anyway, about Werewolf, Eggers states, quote, "But yeah, it's a medieval werewolf movie, and it's also the darkest thing I've ever written, by far." Which, when you hear that quote, it kind of sounds, I don't know, the way he says things is it's kind of funny because he's like, yeah, werewolf, but it's also the darkest thing I've ever written, so yeah. And then you're just like, okay, Robert. And then when it comes out, it's going to be the best thing we've ever seen. like it's going to be fantastic. Jake, how is this possible? How is it possible for him to make a darker film?
I don't know. It's gonna have to have some like leg humping or something. Like he's a dog. I don't know. I don't know how you can make it more dark, other than visuals that border, whether or not this gets what's X rating, right?
Oh, yeah.
So isn't that like one of the highest, but not really the highest, like rated R, but also there's an X,
Well, there's NR too, which is not rated.
not rated.
I
Okay,
think X is
so
above NR.
so I don't know. I mean, shoot for that. If it's the dark, if you truly think it's the darkest, go for the X. I don't know, but I don't know enough about horror to be like, how do you achieve? Going off of Nosferatu, I'm like, I don't think it was dark. I don't know if it was. To me, we're talking about straight up beheadings, and I don't know. I don't know how you get dark in a movie within. I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm rambling now, but like it's truly perplexes me. Is what do you mean darker? I mean, we've seen naked vampire eating people. I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
I mean,
okay. It's more grotesque. Um, I don't know what darker means. I think it's too subjective. How about that? I'm just gonna land on that and say, what the hell does darker mean?
outside of the Northman, every one of his films have been dark. Like they've always been that way. And I know there is an avenue to go darker, but man, like I love the idea. I know he's talking thematically, and I could go down the rabbit hole of like what that could mean, but I'm just gonna land on this. It'd be hilarious if he says it's gonna be the darkest by far, and it's just pitch black. You can hardly see anything at all times.
I was gonna make that joke. It was like, oh, we're just not gonna be able to see anything because Nosferatu was already hard to see.
Yeah, yeah. You're gonna walk into the movie theater and it's just gonna be a black screen the entire time, and you're just gonna hear people like you're gonna hear the dialogue, you're gonna see the subtitles when people speak in a different language, you're gonna hear the wolf. That's it. And good luck trying to get an experience out of that. But no, in all seriousness, it's thematically gonna be darker. I don't know. I'm kind of in the same boat as you. It's like at this point, are you trying to top yourself? Because at that point, like there is a good avenue for that. But I almost the way that it reads, like you heard how I read that. That's how I took his statement. It's almost like, yeah, it's darker. You know, it's almost like if you couldn't believe it, like, it's just like, dog, just make the movie. Like I don't need you to prove anything. Like you're Robert Eggers. There's nothing to prove. You've proven that you are one of the best filmmakers of today. I don't think like I don't. It's almost like you're speaking just to speak. Your art can do it for you. Not that I'm saying he shouldn't take interviews by any means and talk about it, but it's just like I just don't know about these. This is like a bombastic statement. It's like how? Anyway, we'll go ahead and move on because that's enough Robert Eggers and his hard to see films. Leo DiCaprio to star as Evel Knievel in the next Damien Chazelle film. In a report from the Puck newsletter, which I think this is the second week we've included Puck, which I've never heard about it until last week. So, hello, Puck. It was revealed that the star's agent, Rick Yorn, has been quietly negotiating for DiCaprio to star in Chazelle's next biopic. The film reportedly covers Knievel's Snake River jump, in which the daredevil attempted a jump over Idaho's Snake River Canyon. Now, if you aren't above the age of 55, or you aren't into history, this would sound like a crazy enough attempt. Jumping over a canyon with a bike or a motorcycle. Until that is, you add into the equation a rocket-powered motorcycle. This was also happening in 1974, so before modern medicine, or at least before like today's modern medicine. So yeah, it kind of nuts. What do you think about this film, or at least the concept?
I mean, I'm all for a biopic. I mean, this is a story that I've not seen told. I could be wrong. There are stories out there of Evel Knievel, maybe even outside of like documentaries and such. But this is one that I'm pretty excited to see because I actually, when I read this script before we started recording, I looked up the video. I was like, what does this snake jump, what Snake River jump look like? And it's wide. That's a wide canyon, dude. Is that? But to be fair, the rocket propelled bike was more rocket than bike in this video, and the ramp was like pointed straight up, and there is no reason that he couldn't have done it. However, there was a premature parachute that came out, which means he did not make it. So if that's a spoiler for this biopic, oopsies. But uh, yeah, so I look forward to it. I do, and I want to know. I want to because I didn't know anything about Evel Knievel, and I still don't. And so I wonder how they'll portray him. Is he a hero? Is he misunderstood? Is he a villain?
Yeah.
Was he a good guy? I think we'll find that out. And DiCaprio, as always, will uh, do well.
Yeah, and I think of all this because you talked about how wide the canyon is and how, the spoilers that I won't repeat just in case if people didn't hear it. If you're wondering if this killed Knievel or did he die during any of his stunts, no. I don't know why this is so funny to me. But he died at the old age of 69 in 2007 from diabetes. That's what got him. This man survived a jump over a canyon and countless other stunts that probably should have killed him. And he just goes out to diabetes. It's weird. It's such a strange, like real life is stranger than fiction sometimes. And it's like,
Well, the most dangerous is, sugar. That was
yeah,
the most dangerous.
like that's what I mean though.
Um,
It's like this is a dude who defied death time and time again through 7 decades of life and sugar got him.
yeah, cupcakes, dude.
Dog.
Most dangerous jump and you know So
Life is a joke, and I just think it's
it is.
funny to. I think it's funny to take in the pun sometimes, or the punchline.
It's I mean, it's ironic in itself. It's also kind of weird to think about 2007.
I
I don't know, like you
know.
told me like 98 or like, 80 89. I've been like, okay, you know, 2007, this grand daredevil passed away. And it's like, well, that was much sooner than I thought it was.
Yeah, we were alive.
Much later. Yeah, well, conscience, maybe not.
I had consciousness. Okay, 2007. I had it. I was
As
around.
old.
S- Anyway, moving on. Avatar AI. At a Q&A in New Zealand, James Cameron revealed that his next Avatar film, titled Fire and Ash, will include a title card stating, quote, no generative AI was used in the making of this movie. Cameron has long been very vocal about his opposition to the use of AI in film, notoriously stating, quote, I just don't personally believe that a disembodied mind that's just regurgitating what other embodied minds have said, I don't believe that's ever going to have something that's going to move an audience. You have to be human to write that. I don't know anyone that's even thinking about having AI write a screenplay. I pose this question because we talked about, I mean, we're going to continue to talk about it because there's always going to be something else about AI until it's a normal part of our day-to-day life. Is this the future of AI in cinema with the title card? Will we begin to see an idea of what is a pure, quote unquote, pure film described, which would be described as a story untouched by AI? Will we start to see a difference in that? Will that start to affect our award ceremonies? Will that start to affect the average everyday viewer? The idea of this is a pure film untouched by mechanics. This is a human made story.
I don't know. I can't tell the future. However, I don't know if it'll be a title card, but I think they're going to probably have to start stating that it wasn't, did not utilize AI. So, and then the Oscars are definitely going to change. I think maybe even after this year, there's going to be something that changes with the Oscars. There's going to be a rule. There's going to be something where they have to disclose. I don't know. We're in a new world now, and AI is either going to be a tool or a means to tell the story, or it's going to be the worst thing imaginable for storytelling.
Yeah.
I think James Cameron, him saying that he doesn't know anyone that's even thinking about using AI to write a screenplay,
I doubt.
makes me believe that James Cameron doesn't have a very large friend group.
Doubt. Yeah.
Because like, you can't just say that I don't know anybody who's thinking about doing it. It's like everybody's thinking about doing it, whether or not it's a good idea or they will, or it's just kind of one of those things. It's like, well, I wonder what it would do. Madam Web, that's what it would do.
Oh man,
So
that's a callback right there. That's like OG, like week 2 beyond the screen clowning.
so
Man.
yeah, I think that's come on, James Cameron, you got to get more friends because I guarantee you somebody in LA is thinking about it.
Yeah, and I want to touch back on another thing we talked about a couple weeks ago, and you brought it up, is like the Oscars are tempted to like make films that are specifically looking to be nominated have that sort of prerequisite, which is to admit whether or not they used AI. And so I think that exactly, I think Cameron is kind of jumping on that bandwagon before he kind of hit the trend before it became a trend. But he's doing it for the opposite reason, other than, hey, I've used AI before, but you can trust me because I'm telling you I didn't on this one. He's saying, I will never use AI. But yeah, I completely agree with your assessment. There's no way that none of his friends, if he's got a decent sized friend group that are filmmakers or producers, that they've not looked into AI or thought about AI. And our last little bit of notes from anything news, really, this is the end of the podcast. Avatar Fire and Ash is scheduled for release on December 19th of later this year, 2025. Jake, any final thoughts we leave our departing listeners?
Dude, I think I'm gonna try and get on Queso's live stream. I think that'll do numbers for our publicity.
I feel like no shot just the entire time. Just what's his big
Yeah,
thing
I
he
don't.
yelled? Yeah.
I don't.
No
I
way,
don't know. I'm
bro.
probably just gonna. Yeah, he he's got some takes. He's got some music takes and movie takes that yeah, they're hot. They're pretty darn hot. He doesn't care what people think about him and do the things that he likes and the things that he doesn't like. The things that he doesn't like is crazy. But I'm not going to go into a whole queso live stream talk. It's just like, yeah, I think that'll do numbers.
Yeah.
Put me in.
Well, I can say the Oscars are this Sunday. So tune in, be on the lookout for something from us following the Oscars. We're going to have our own little thing going on when that is released, further notice. But we will be going over and reacting to what goes on this upcoming Sunday during the Academy's award ceremony. So with that, it is time to say goodbye. Thank you guys so much for sticking around with us for an hour and 8 minutes or however long this episode is, hour 10. We love you, and we'll see you next week.